Like a standstill launch here, but there's just slightly too much traffic on the road for me to do that, so we're just gonna punch it. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a review on the all-new Honda Civic Si. Before getting into the video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a turbocharged 1.5 liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 6-speed manual transmission. Fuel economy is 27 around town and then 37 on the highway. I've been averaging about 35 miles per gallon for the week that I've had this car. Power outputs, 200 horsepower and then 192 pound-feet of torque. So yes, this is down in horsepower compared to the previous Civic Si, but the torque is available at a lower RPM, 1800 RPM to be exact. Before we go over the front end, I do want to mention that if you want to see more reviews just like this, then I recommend that you subscribe, because I post reviews on a daily basis of a large variety of different types of cars. And so yeah, hit that subscribe button. Now, going over the front end, you guys can see we've got these really prominent lines on either side of the hood. And this color is called Blazing Orange Metallic or something like that. I believe we'll check the window sticker later. But anyways, you guys can see with the signature daytime running lights, pretty sharp. And then with the LED headlights, I think it looks pretty cool overall. And then not a fog light down below. We've got the Honda logo there with the SI badge off to the side. And, you know, I think it looks pretty good from a front end perspective. It's just pretty much the same as any other new style Civic. Coming around the side of the tire, wheel setup is 235, 40, 18 in the front and over in the rear as well. And you guys can see the wheels are all blacked out, which contrasts nicely with the orange paint on this particular car. And then something else that I like is the little line there on the fender. I think that actually looks pretty dang sweet overall. And then notice that the mirror caps have been blacked out. Door handles are body painted, and there's not really a lot to go over from a side perspective. I think that they did a good job with the styling. Again, has this kind of cool, sleek look. So here's our key fob for the Civic Si. We got the Honda logo there on the back. We have the lock function, the unlock, then the opening here for the trunk. Gonna press that and notice that it kind of pops up, and then you just got to do the rest of the work yourself. And well, I guess it's a little bit dirty back here, but anyways, you guys can see got the storage space center, and then also the little fix-a-flat kit. Does not have a spare tire. Overall cargo space I think is pretty dang solid. We do have these little latches right here to throw the seats down, which is a nice feature. And then when you're all done, just plop. Now, finishing things up with the rest of the rear, we do have this cool spoiler here on the back that you guys can see, again, painted in black to contrast. And then our normal badges here on the back. And then I do like the style of taillights here with the new Civic. Now, you guys can see pretty normal turn signal, nothing too crazy with that. And got the double exhaust tips here in the back. I should say dual outlet if I want to be, you know, a fancy journalist. And you guys can see with the paint and the sunlight, it's really a dynamic color. I've actually gotten quite a few compliments with this particular paint color. But I guess one thing I do want to mention before we pop inside is this definitely looks very Audi-like. You can tell that Honda took quite a bit of inspiration from them with this car. Now, popping inside, you guys can see with the door panel, pretty basic. We do have cloth trim here where you're going to rest your arm. Then the rest of it is pretty much just hard touch plastic. This looks pretty cool right here. And then here's a quick look at the door handle. And then here are the back seats. So again, black cloth, but there is a little bit of red stitching there at the bottom. I don't think there's any at the top. There is some on the center console thing there. But anyways, popping in. Yep, shorts today. This is what I do on my day off. There's no storage pocket here, but then there is a storage pocket for the passenger seat. And when I said center console, I meant cup holder armrest, of course. But anyways, outside of the front. Now you guys can see the front door panel looks quite a bit nicer compared to the back. You've got this black trim here, and you guys can see the like cool pattern. It's like a bunch of different squares, and then the red stitching down below. And then look at the little red piping there, and then again with this trim piece. Notice front two windows are automatic, which is nice. The mirrors do have blind spot monitoring. And then here are the front seats, which again look really cool. You got the SI logo on them. And look at the bolstering here with the seats. Again, they are cloth, and I love how this matches with the door panel. 3-pedal layout. Manual transmission is the only transmission for the Civic Si. If you want an automatic Civic Si, you have to get an Acura Integra, and that has a CVT. And then you guys can see here with the stability control, and that's for the safety tech. Steering wheel is manually adjustable. Let's pop in. So here's our steering wheel with the Civic Si. You guys can see we've got leather trim all around, and then we've got the red stitching there on the center portion. This does come with adaptive cruise control and steering assistance, and it actually works pretty dang well. And then you can see with the volume controls for the center stack, voice command controls, turn signal light stock, windshield wiper stock in their normal places, and there's the steering wheel. Now here's a gauge cluster, which is pretty fun because we have like the analog gauge here, and then we have a screen on the other side. And well, it's being mad at me because of seatbelt, and I guess it needs maintenance. But anyways, other than not important stuff, you guys can see what I've been averaging, 36 miles per gallon, which is pretty decent. And I've been having fun with the car, and so it seems like it's a pretty economical car overall. And then you guys can see I can increase the volume, and I love how it shows a little speaker animation there, so I wanted to show that to you. But aside from that, I think overall this gauge cluster looks pretty good. And then last thing I want to show is the drive mode. So notice we have an individual, sport, normal. I basically have just been driving it in sport all the time because it, you know, since it's a manual transmission, you shift when you want to shift, and I like having a little bit more, you know, oomph when I put my foot on the throttle. Now before we go over the backup camera, I just want to show you guys the quick little animation here on the screen with the drive modes. I think that's pretty fun. But anyways, popping into reverse, we have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. Resolution on it is pretty solid. You do have a couple of different viewpoints. I do think Honda definitely needs to work on a 360 camera system though for their cars. Anyways, as for the infotainment screen, pretty easy to use. I've just been using the satellite radio the whole time. I haven't even connected my phone, to be completely honest. That's how much I just don't care about connecting my phone to cars anymore, I suppose. But I think overall, like with how I've been using the infotainment system, it's been a pretty good experience. I will say I wish that there was a tuner button, because there's a volume control, but you have to like press the screen. So like if I go into the satellite radio, this is how I change the channels. I wish there was like a tuner knob. We have the Honda Mega Vent with the red trim around it. The center portion isn't actually vent, it's just for aesthetic purposes. Single zone climate, but it is automatic, which is nice. And then you guys can see here with the little charging area and my Ford sunglasses that I have in this Honda. And then this is our little drive mode select shifter dial thing, whatever you want to call it. Auto stop start if you can turn that off. Parking, brake, brake hold. And then we've got this shifter. We'll talk about this more during the driving portion. We will be having a fun drive in today's video. I always try to pick a fun road, well, the fun road that I have by my house for cars like this. But overall, you guys can see kind of like the points there, and then that's reverse, by the way. There is no like pull up or push down lockout for it. Couple cup holders here, and then we've got more cloth on the center console, and then you guys can see the storage space inside. And then here's a quick look at the glove box, and we have a manual mirror dimmer, and we have a sunroof here at the top, and then black headliner. So here's our window sticker for this Civic Si. As you guys can see, pretty much everything is standard equipment. Base MSRP $27,300. Really the only options you can add is just color on the Civic Si, pretty much. But anyways, total MSRP after destination and color, $28,710. Let's see how it drives. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood. Both the mirrors, which do have blind spot monitoring, and then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So we're starting off in sport mode here. We're gonna do a slightly slower driving on the way in, and then on the way out, we'll you know, pick up the pace a little bit, just so I can get a feel for the Civic on this road, because I will say this definitely has a little bit more of a learning curve to pushing it compared to some other performance cars that I've reviewed over the last little bit. But you guys can, well, you probably can't tell because you can't see my feet, but it's got auto rev match, which is a really cool feature. Basically, what that does is it, you know, perfectly matches the RPM, so you don't have to do rev match downshifting yourself. So if you're learning how to drive manual transmission in a performance setting, it's great because it always matches it perfectly. So it makes you look like a pro. Now, one thing I will say is I can somewhat feel what's happening through the steering, but it's pretty dang numb overall. And so it's, oh my gosh, it's not exactly the best situation. I basically, because I've driven down this road so many times, I kind of know what to expect. But like, if I was just, you know, driving down this road for the first time, I don't think it would be as good of an experience. Because, yeah, there's not a lot of feedback. Other than that, power's pretty decent. It's not crazy fast, but I feel like it's okay amount for the car. Like a standstill launch here, but there's just slightly too much traffic on the road for me to do that, so we're just gonna punch it out of first. Oh my goodness. Yeah, a little bit too much speed for this car, so I definitely have to take this a little bit slower compared to other vehicles I have taken down this same road. Yeah, it's pretty dang good though for what it is. I mean, for being ultimately what I feel like is an economy car with, you know, some performance goodies slapped on in a manual transmission, it's pretty dang solid. I will say though, this suspension is all over the place. Yeah, I just don't feel super confident in this compared to some other, ooh, I'm bouncing all over the place. Compared to some other cars I've driven down this road, oh my gosh. Like I had the Hyundai Kona N last week, and that was, I drove that in the rain down this road, and that was a lot more confidence inspiring compared to this. But I mean, I'm still able to like hustle this down the road. So, you know, overall, from a performance standpoint, sorry if the GoPro view is horrible during that bounce. Like literally, the reason I chose this road is because it's such like a horrible road to drive on that if a car can handle this road, I feel like it can handle a lot of stuff. But you know, pretty solid. So now that we are back on a normal road and driving normally, still in sport mode, of course, let's just kind of talk about the Civic Si as just a general vehicle, you know, daily driver, all that kind of stuff. So from a commuter perspective, it's actually pretty solid. So again, fuel economy is really good. I've been averaging 36 miles per gallon. You know, it fluctuates a little bit, but it's pretty solid. Ride comfort's actually really good with this new Civic. That's something that Honda definitely focused on, was making this just a more refined car overall. So really smooth from a ride quality perspective. Seat comfort's actually pretty good even over long trips. Again, the adaptive cruise control steering assistance helps out on the highway so that it, you know, takes a little bit of work off of your hands from a driving perspective. The rev match helps out in traffic quite a bit. The manual transmission overall really easy to use in traffic. The clutch is pretty light, so overall, like all that kind of daily driver stuff, really solid. So, you know, if you're looking to purchase this because you want it as like an A to B car to have a little bit of fun in, I think that's where the Civic Si really shines, because it definitely focuses more on the daily driver stuff than it does on the performance side of things. Again, it ultimately does have a pretty solid level of performance. It can handle quite a bit, but when you compare it to stuff like the new Hyundai Kona N, for example, which I know that's technically an SUV, but you know, just barely more expensive than this, and that is like full blown on the performance side of things. This just isn't quite on that same level, but that's for a good reason, right? Honda has the Civic Type R that'll be coming out soon, and you know, hopefully Honda sends that out here. We'll see what happens. We don't really get the cool cars here in Utah, sadly. I have to get those from dealers, but if they do send it out, we'll test it on the same road. We'll see how it does. But as for the Si, I think this is a great, fun performance daily driver. As long as you're not like looking for a car to like really push things to the limit, this is a great car. That's because something's up for our video on this Honda Civic Si, and with that being said, I'll see you.